Connections with powerful people can sometimes seem attractive, promising a life of luxury and opportunity. However, such relationships can also be fraught with danger. Today's case serves as a stark reminder of how a life intertwined with powerful figures can quickly spiral into peril. The case continues to haunt Malaysia, not only because it remains an unsolved mystery, but also because of the stain it has left on the country's reputation globally. This is the murder of Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa. Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa was born in 1978 and raised in St. Petersburg, Russia, along with her sister. At the age of 12, the family relocated back to Mongolia in 1990. Although little is known about Altantuya's childhood, she was remembered as being diligent by her family members. It appeared that Altantuyaa was also sociable, given her fondness for attending parties with her peers. At one such party, Altantuyaa met a man who would later become her husband. He was a celebrity named Madai, a popular singer in the band Kar Sarnai. They fell in love and began dating in 1996 when Altantuyaa was 18. She didn't seem to mind the attention or the popularity she garnered from newspapers and magazines discussing their relationship. During their relationship, Altantuyaa enrolled at Otongtingor University around November 1996, an institution with a focus on business and languages. Here, she attracted attention as a celebrity's wife. However, she withdrew early in January 1997, unable to complete her courses. The university's director, Orlongkorol, recalled that her pregnancy and sporadic attendance were the reasons for her departure. Altantuyaa's relationship with Madai was publicly lauded as delightful. However, the reality behind closed doors was starkly different. Since the birth of their child, their marriage became turbulent. The popularity of Madai's band required him to perform at concerts around Mongolia, leaving Altantuyaa at home to care for their son. This left her feeling neglected and abandoned by her husband, leading to frequent disputes. Eventually, the couple divorced in 1998, with the custody of their son falling to Altantuyaa's parents. According to her friend Oina, Altantuyaa had always aspired to be a successful model. She consistently wore stylish and fashionable clothes, even for casual outings. This may explain why she moved to Paris around the year 2000 to attend modeling classes, which ultimately earned her a modeling certificate. Upon her return to Mongolia from Paris, Altantuyaa began working in the textile industry, with the company importing clothing from China. Being multilingual, she was proficient in languages like Russian, English, Chinese, and a little French, which prompted her to establish a tourism business, working also as a translator. In addition, she capitalized on her modeling certificate by taking up part-time work as a model. However, Altantuyaa's mother did not acknowledge that her daughter pursued a modeling career. Her endeavors in modeling and the clothing business led to her meeting her second partner. She quickly developed a close relationship with S. Kuniku, the son of a renowned Mongolian designer, in 2003. From this union, Altantuyaa had her second child. Unfortunately, this marriage too was short-lived, ending in divorce just 2 years later. As with her previous relationship, custody of the child was awarded to Altantuyaa's parents. Both of Altantuyaa's children were brought up by her parents in an apartment on 34th Street. According to her teachers and parents, Altantuyaa was a vibrant woman who strived to make the most of her life. She was as beautiful as she was industrious and intelligent. However, her ambitious life was abruptly curtailed when she became entangled with the Malaysian government. How did this happen? Altantuyaa was known to travel extensively, including visits to China, Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong. Some sources claim that she worked as an escort in Hong Kong, though this has been challenging to verify. However, it is confirmed that she attended an international diamond convention in Hong Kong in 2004. There, she met the then Prime Minister of Malaysia, Najib Abdul Razak, who introduced her to his associate and defense analyst from the Malaysian Strategic Research Center, Abdul Razak Baginda. The nature of Altantuya's relationship with Baginda remains unclear. She did provide Baginda with translation services from Russian to English, as she was fluent in both languages. In March 2005, Baginda took Altantuya on a trip around Europe, which appeared to be romantic in nature given the fine dining and luxury hotels involved. The journey also served as a business trip to France for governmental and military affairs, which Baginda was handling. In 2002, the Malaysian government had signed a deal with a French-Spanish company named Armoris. It was reported that Armoris had sold 3 military-grade submarines to the Malaysian government. Fast forward to 2005, Baginda, as a Malaysian security expert, had to revisit the company to discuss further details of the deal alongside Deputy Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak. Altantuya accompanied them, using her fluency in French to assist Baginda in the negotiations. During the discussions with Armoris, it was proposed that the government would need to pay 1 billion euros for the submarines. To facilitate the transaction, Armoris paid a commission of 114 million euros to Malaysia. The arrangement was agreed upon, and the sizable commission was transferred to the bank account of Perimecar, a company owned by Baginda. Subsequently, Baginda promised Altantuya a share of the funds once they arrived. Following their visit to Paris, the relationship between Altantuya and Baginda allegedly came to an end. Altantuya returned to her family, while Baginda went back to Kuala Lumpur. Despite the termination of their relationship, Altantuya was believed to be carrying Baginda's child. What options did she have now, bearing the child of her former lover? In addition to her pregnancy, the promise of money turned out to be false. Altantuya discovered that she was not receiving any money from Baginda, contrary to his assurances. Feeling wronged, she returned to Kuala Lumpur accompanied by her cousin, Burma Oyunchimeg, to confront Baginda. However, her plea for him to fulfill his promise was dismissed, with Rosma Mansour, the wife of Najib Razak, also vehemently denying her a share. Altantuya did not back down. She began appearing outside Baginda's house, allegedly causing a commotion to draw attention. She also started threatening Baginda, telling him she would take her own life or expose the corrupt deal he had been part of. There was only so much Baginda could tolerate before he eventually lost his patience. Following her disruptive activities outside Baginda's house, Altantuya was apprehended by the police. Seeing herself escorted to the police station, she attempted to file a report about the dubious transaction. She demanded $500,000 from Baginda and plane tickets to return to Mongolia. Once again, her demands were rebuffed, and Altantuya was warned not to push the matter further. On October 18, 2006, Baginda contacted his associate, Special Branch Director Musa Safri, regarding the situation. The following day, 2 Special Branch officers, Azila Hadri and Cyril Omar, arrived at Baginda's residence around 9 p.m. Outside the house, Altantuya was reportedly hurling insults and calling out for Baginda, who was not home at the time. There, the 2 officers were given their assignment to neutralize the Chinese woman. Late into the night, Oyunchimeg began to worry as her cousin had not returned from the house. Altantuya had previously sent her a message instructing that if she went missing for more than an hour, Oyunchimeg should quickly investigate Abdul Razak Baginda. Sensing that something was amiss, Oyunchimeg filed a police report and sought assistance from the Mongolian embassy located in Bangkok. She also enlisted the help of private investigator Ang Chongbeng. Approximately 3 weeks after Altantuya's disappearance, the police uncovered a significant lead. On November 7th, guided by a confession from Azila, they ventured to the location where he admitted to having disposed of the body. They were not disappointed. Scattered human remains were discovered throughout a forest reserve near the Subang Dam in Pungkakalam. The remains were taken back for investigation and identification via DNA testing, which confirmed them to belong to Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa. An autopsy revealed, according to a forensic expert, that Altantuya's body had been detonated using C4 grade explosives, a type typically used for military purposes. The investigation proceeded smoothly, and witnesses were rapidly gathered. This led to the late October arrest of Chief Inspector Azila Hadri, implicated in Altantuya's murder. Several days later, on November 6th, Corporal Cyril Azar Umar was also arrested and brought in for questioning. Abdul Razak Baginda, though he attempted to conceal his involvement, was arrested the following day on suspicion of being the orchestrator of the crime. A confidential report from the Malaysian police was disclosed later in November 2006, providing a chilling account of Altantuya's final moments and her murder. According to Cyril, as soon as Altantuya realized the men were armed, she began to plead for her life, begging to be spared because she was pregnant. However, Azila threw her to the ground and shot her in the left side of her face. After Altantuya fell, they began to strip her, placing her clothes in a plastic bag. They noticed that Altantuya was still alive, as her hand was trembling. Azila then ordered Cyril to shoot the woman again, which he did. Altantuya's body was subsequently transported by the two men to the wooden area for disposal. The exact reason behind their decision remains unclear, but they agreed to destroy the body using explosives. Azila attached PETN and RDX bombs to Altantuya's legs, abdomen, and head. Once everything was in place, they detonated the bombs, obliterating the body of the Mongolian woman before making their departure. With the confession made and the body discovered, it was time for those responsible to face prosecution. On November 15, 2006, Azila and Cyril were charged at the Magistrates' Court in Shah Alam with the murder of Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa. Abdul Razak Baginda was charged at the Kuala Lumpur Magistrates' Court the following day with abetting the murder. Altantuya's family was resolute in their quest for justice, even in the face of potential danger from government officials. The trial for the murder of Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa began on June 19, 2007. Throughout the proceedings, Najib was publicly scrutinized over his connection to the victim, but he denied any intimate knowledge of Altantuyaa. Oyunchimeg, along with other witnesses, was called to testify. The court atmosphere was intense, with photographs of Altantuyaa visiting Paris being presented as evidence. Oyunchimeg confirmed that one photograph showed Altantuyaa dining with Najib Razak and Abdul Razak Baginda. Baginda was acquitted on October 31, 2008, as there wasn't enough evidence to support the charges against him. After almost 2 full years of trial, the High Court delivered a verdict for the perpetrators on April 9, 2009. Chief Inspector Azila Hadri and Corporal Cyril Azar Umar were found guilty of the murder of Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa and were sentenced to death by hanging. Both men were visibly shocked by the verdict. In his defense, Cyril claimed that he was being scapegoated to shield his superiors. He insisted that he had never intended harm to the women, but was simply following orders. Both Azila and Cyril subsequently submitted their appeals, which were heard years later in late June 2013. Following the hearing, the Court of Appeal, presided over by Mohammed Apandi Ali, granted the appeal and acquitted both men of the charges against them. The acquittal was justified on the grounds of judicial errors, inconsistencies in the prosecution's evidence, and trial misdirections that led to the original verdict. As Azila and Shaariibuugiin walked free, prosecutors swiftly filed an appeal against the acquittal. The appeal was heard 3 years later, in January 2015. Ultimately, the federal court overturned the acquittal and reinstated the death sentence for the 2 officers. Shaariibuugiin, however, had already fled to Australia and did not attend the hearing. He was subsequently detained by Australian immigration authorities on January 20th, 2015. Shaariibuugiin remains in Australia because the Australian law prohibits the extradition of individuals to jurisdictions where they might face the death penalty. After the acquittal was overturned and his appeal denied, Azila requested a retrial and a review of his conviction. However, the Malaysian federal court rejected this request, stating definitively that there was no misconduct during the trial. This rejection confirmed Azila's death sentence, and he has been on death row since December 2020. The murder of Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa provoked widespread controversy in Malaysia and attracted international attention, even from France. Firstly, a blogger named Raja Petra claimed that a reliable source informed him about the presence of Rosma Mansour, acting Colonel Abdul Aziz Buyong, and the wife of the acting colonel at the murder scene on October 19, 2006. All 3 individuals vehemently denied these allegations and sued Raja for defamation. The second issue raised was the relationship between Najib Razak and Altantuyaa. According to Baginda's private investigator, the police did not mention that the Deputy Prime Minister had an intimate relationship with Altantuyaa during their visit to France. Bala also hinted that Najib seemed to be making every effort to avoid entanglement in the situation. After making these public statements, Bala abruptly retracted his comments and became unreachable to his lawyer and relatives. Bala's house was broken into and he disappeared along with his wife and children. Some speculated that he was seeking refuge in another country to evade Najib. He later re-emerged, claiming that he had been threatened by Najib and his associates. Tragically, Bala died of a heart attack in March 2013. Lastly, Abdul Razak Baginda denied any involvement in or planning of the murder. Baginda maintained that Altantuyaa had been blackmailing him for money over personal matters. He stated that he only hired the officers for his own protection and that Altantuya's death was solely the responsibility of Zirul Omar and Azila Hadri. Baginda also refuted the allegation that the murder was connected in any way with the submarine purchase. Throughout the case, it appears that some media outlets may have been influenced by powerful figures to tarnish Altantuya's character. She was labeled as a call girl, condemned for being pregnant outside of marriage, and portrayed as a vindictive gold digger who was attempting to attract as much wealth as possible from her affluent lover. It was heartbreaking for her loved ones to witness her name being besmirched to conform to a particular moral narrative of the country. Later, it was revealed that Altantuyaa had written a letter concerning her issues with Baginda. In this letter, she admitted her impulsiveness in blackmailing Baginda about their transactions and in threatening to take her own life. Beyond the financial betrayal, she was also deeply hurt by Baginda's broken promises and altered behavior. She recognized that he no longer loved her, but she couldn't help her feelings. All she wanted was to see her lover face to face, even though she faced threats to her life. The brutal murder of Shaariibuugiin Altantuyaa left a deep wound on her loved ones. Her son, Mugun Shagai, who was 12 years old at the time, was traumatized by the horrific event and the loss of his mother. His younger half-brother, 5-year-old Altan Shagai, still couldn't fully comprehend what had happened to his mother and suffers from a mental disability. Altantuya's family also mentioned that they had never received a proper apology for the tragedy that had befallen them. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.